Do you know why a recent survey said that over 50% of employees were interested in purchasing long-term care insurance? In this video, we'll tell you what you need to know about long-term care and why long-term care insurance might be an important part of your retirement plan. We're Shannon and Michael, the founders of Healthcare Genius. For the best information on healthcare and retirement, subscribe to our channel and click the bell to be notified when we come out with new videos.
So what is long-term care insurance? Typically three parts. One would be nursing home or skilled nursing, where you have a family member or a parent or grandparent who has to go to a nursing home where they get care around the clock and there's somebody there to feed them, make sure they take their medicine. The second kind would be assisted living, where maybe somebody doesn't need round-the-clock care, but they need to have somebody that's there for them if something were to happen. Then there is home health care, where rather than having to go into a nursing home or an assisted living facility, an individual or a couple wants to stay home and have somebody come in and help them with daily needs. Could be cleaning, could be cooking, could be, again, making sure that they take their medicine, showering, bathing, and so forth. And then finally, adult daycare, where you're able to take somebody to a place during the day or for a few hours, so that caregiver spouse oftentimes can do some shopping or just get some relief from the caregiving they've been going to.
Or even go to work. There are some people who may drop off a spouse or one of their parents when they go to work in the morning and then pick them up when they come back.
That's a great point. But you know, those are the technical terms for long-term care, but really what long-term care insurance is that it provides people peace of mind. We can't tell you how many clients and friends and family over the years that we've seen who are caregivers and the things that they're going through trying to juggle a family and still provide that quality of care for their parent or loved one. So that's really what we see long-term care insurance, where the value is.
So who is likely to need long-term care? Surprisingly, over 60% of Americans are likely to need some kind of long-term care assistance at some point during their lives. Most people assume that long-term care is just care for old people, and that's not always the case. There are an increasing number of people that are getting dementia and Alzheimer's younger and younger, and actually of all the people who require long-term care, 45% of those people are under the age of 65.
Yeah, it's interesting, Shannon. As I've gotten older, I've run into a number of situations. We have a family member in Kansas City. His wife developed early onset dementia in her early 50s. It was a 15-year struggle making sure that she was taken care of while the family member was still working and holding down a full-time job. I've also seen a few classmates of mine, believe it or not, that have also been diagnosed with early onset dementia. So it's a bad thing when it happens at older ages, but it's really worse when it's younger.
It is, and unfortunately, not only is it not uncommon, but it's really expensive. For the average person who has dementia, they'll spend approximately $350,000 over their lifetime on care. So we do have some people that when we talk to them about long-term care will say, oh, I have family members that will take care of me if something happens. Even if that's the case, you need to realize what a strain that caregiving can take on family members. So it can be a physical strain, it can be an emotional strain, and it's not always the best option for a lot of families.
Shannon, I was just having lunch with a friend of mine yesterday. He was relating to me, he and his wife have parents that are still alive and in their late 70s and early 80s. And he was relating to me how frustrating it is for both of them. One couple lives out of state and the other one lives where my friend lives. But just how frustrating it is with all the things that happen, like falls, and one of the parents has Parkinson's, so just trying to deal with that. The concern and worry that my friend and his wife have is overwhelming, to the point that they've now gotten to where they're basically saying if something happens and they fall, we need to have them call 911 because we can't get there in time. So it really is a tough situation.
So not only are people having to worry about their parents, but in a lot of cases, because people are having children older, by the time their parents are getting sick, they still have children in the house. And so that's what we call the sandwich generation, when there are caregivers that are having to take care of parents but also have kids in the house. Now, to add another layer to that, a lot of these people are still working. So the average caregiver who has a job is actually providing care on average 35 hours a week.
A majority of people have had an experience before. What's yours? Share in the comment box below. So how do most people pay for long-term care insurance? Well, there's a misconception out there, and we've talked about it in earlier videos, that Medicare is going to take care of long-term care costs. And while Medicare does take care of a portion if you had to go into a rehab facility, it's very little, and it's not going to cover that traditional skilled nursing home stay. Medicaid is really the program that covers long-term care costs when somebody needs to go into a nursing home. One problem with Medicaid is that you, in most states, have to spend down virtually all of your assets before you qualify. And in addition to that, there's not as many beds for Medicaid in nursing homes as there would be for people who are paying for the cost of care on their own. So a lot of people will spend their retirement plans. We know from studies that most people are getting income from Social Security, from pension plans, their 401ks, and other assets, maybe their home. These are the assets that most people are going to use to pay for long-term care. And they're really not the best assets to use when you're thinking about covering these types of costs. You know, if it's your home, a lot of people may want to leave that to their children. So if you're using those assets, then that's going to go away. If you're using a pension plan or your Social Security, that's all taxable. Now you may get some relief there from deductions, but you can never count on that. So these are really not the best assets and the best way to cover long-term care costs.
That's a good segue into why insurance might be the right answer. One, without insurance, it can be really expensive. Medicare doesn't cover it, so you're either looking at out-of-pocket costs or virtually spending everything that you have on care. And let's also go back to the caregiver scenario. There are a lot of people that even if they do have someone who may possibly be able to take care of them, don't want to put that burden on their family, whether it's your children or your spouse. That's not always a position that you want to put your loved ones in. You may also want to consider long-term care insurance because if and when the time comes, you want a certain type of care and you want a certain quality of care, which again can be very costly. And so when you have insurance, it gives you some more options.
The question really becomes, who do you want to pay for long-term care? Do you want it to be your children in the form of lost inheritance? Do you want it to be your family, your spouse, your loved ones in the cost of stress, time, lost job activity, things like that?
Do you want it to be all of the retirement savings that you had?
Right. You know, most people that we talk with would like to leave something to their family, and most people tell us they don't want to be a burden. And so these are the types of coverages that can give you and your family members peace of mind knowing that there's somebody who can take care of you when the time comes. And the nice thing about long-term care insurance today is it's not your grandmother and grandfather's long-term care insurance. A lot of people were turned off who purchased insurance back in the 70s and 80s and even 90s because they've been seeing cost increases for their premiums for long-term care. We're going to tell you those are still good deals. It's still a fantastic product that most people purchased, but nobody wants to have a $1,000 increase in their out-of-pocket spend when they're retired on a fixed income. Fortunately, today's insurance companies, there aren't many that offer true long-term care insurance, but they're available. There's also a lot of what we call hybrid products that provide a death benefit should somebody not use it. So this way they have access to care, to dollars for care, but if they never use it, it'll go to their heirs. Finally, we've been seeing more and more employers, as we mentioned at the outset, offer some types of programs, and depending on how you structure it, there are tremendous tax benefits that an employer can offer to their employees if they are purchasing long-term care insurance for them. So these are some of the big ways.
To become a client, click the link below and make sure to subscribe to our channel.